Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon if you're over in the US, or good evening if you're in the UK, I think. So welcome to Still Only 35 Cents. It's great to have you with us. As always, this is the Merry Monday Mailcall Show. I got a bit of a special delivery this week. Very happy to have got I can get it in focus, my award for Best New Channel for Still Only 35 Cents from the Comic Book Community Awards. It's arrived, beautiful piece of kit. Very, very nice. I'm very, very proud to get that. And thank you all for those who voted for the channel. Really happy. Came with a couple of comic capsules as well and some stickers, of course. 2 stickers which had the word winner on it, which was a very pleasurable thing to see. So thank you very much once again. This is great. And it lights up so well and beautifully. It will be taking pride of place on my shelf here. You will see it on some videos, but yes, thank you very much. Really enjoyed taking part and being nominated in the first place, so thank you. Welcome anyone. So today I've got a selection of Bronze Age Marvel books that I picked up recently, and I thought I'd share them with you because I think these Marvel magazines are a little bit underrated. Now, bit of background on these Marvel magazines. They were originally, so they're not labeled Marvel, but they were written, drawn, created, everything by Marvel. They were listed or known as Curtis magazines. And essentially these magazines were created as a sort of response to the Warren magazines that were highly successful and dominated the market. And so Marvel thought they had an opportunity to showcase their books and their magazines, and so come up with a whole bunch of different titles, predominantly horror to begin with. And then they moved to other titles, and it's those we're going to be covering off today. I've got 2 different titles for you, which I think you'll enjoy. I've had a bit of fun digging through them, and also being quite pleasantly surprised at the value of these. So we'll go through them, we'll dig deep, we'll open them up, we'll check inside, see what you think. But yeah, as I say, these are fantastic little time capsules of the Bronze Age, and I really enjoy the magazine format. So I know a lot of people sort of complain but of the size because everyone's so used to US comics, but I thought, you know, it's a great opportunity to share books that you may or may not be interested in or have seen before. So actually, then you get a chance to see these other stories. There are a couple of, 1 or 2 keys in this lot. It's nothing sort of spectacular, but I thought I'd share it with you anyway. Before we get started, the usual stuff. For those of you that are coming across this show just independently and haven't seen us before, this is Still Only 35 Cents. My name is Dave, and if you would like to subscribe, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for future videos like this one. We do a lot of mail calls once a week, and we go through a lot of different books that I get in and give you a bit of history where we can. Sometimes I don't have all the answers, and my amazing friends in the chat help out in terms of some of these books. Speaking of people in the chat, let's go straight to Locke, who is here as usual. Thank you so much for joining, my friends. Good to see you. Welcome. What other things do we have to share with you today? We have launched channel memberships as well. I'm just going to bring up our beautiful new channel membership screen. So we have launched channel memberships, the price variants, where you'll get access to members only videos and live shows. So we're planning the bullpen interviews. We did an interview with Roy Thomas recently, and I'm about to do a Back to the Drawing Board live sketch show. We'll do the first one for all the Still Only 35 Cents viewers, and then we'll switch it to members only live. But we thought we'd do the first one as a bit of a kickoff so everyone could see what that's all about, and basically see what the sketch show's going to be, what we're going to be doing with it, so that everyone has a chance to join memberships. We have 6 members. Obviously, we've got Simple Simon, who was the first, Brian LCS, Mad Spidey, Deadman Comic Cover Show, and recent member Izzyverse NYC. So again, all great channels. If you get a chance to go and check them out too. And with that, let's bring up our usual overhead view. And here we have it. Hopefully you can see that okay. So as I say, these are Bronze Age magazines by Curtis. They're known as Curtis. You can see the logo at the top here. But these were a company called Magazine Management that Marvel owned, or was part of Marvel. And so it was essentially a sort of side shoot. It didn't sort of say anything about Marvel on these books, but it was essentially the same creative teams. The secret with these magazines and why they were so popular for creators is that they weren't subject to the Comics Code Authority, which normal comic books were. I'll give you an example of that. So every single comic book that you see, for the vast majority of them, had this approved by the Comics Code. So there was a whole bunch of strict guidelines that they couldn't show. So in these books, you could have some nudity, suggestiveness, some blood, they're a bit more violent, a bit more adult. So it's sort of quite an interesting way to experiment with new material. They kicked off, I think the first one was Savage Tales, which saw the first introduction of Man-Thing. But again, that was cancelled after one issue before they relaunched a lot of horror titles, obviously to compete with Warren at the time, and their monster titles, Eerie and Creepy and Vampirella. And so in the 70s, Marvel decided to relaunch a whole bunch of books. This was one of them when the whole martial arts thing took off in the 70s and was massive. So they picked up and started running with the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. Now, this is issue 1. Did a bit of research on this one. It's pretty good shape considering its age. It is, from memory, in 1974. Yep, 1974. And again, this one's in decent shape. This one, I think I saw a VF for $300 raw. So did okay with that because this was a whole lot of books with only one that was a major standout. So I picked them up for quite a decent little price. So really happy to pick those up. Let me go back to the comments. So yeah, this is Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. There's a whole batch of titles here. And then we've got another set of titles, Kull and the Barbarians. But we'll come to that later. Let's cover off these Deadly Hands of Kung Fu first. So the first issue, as I say, launched in 1975. Doesn't have a number on it. Essentially, it's numberless. I think the indicia does feature it. Yeah, volume 1. It actually says volume 1, number 4 in here. But Roy Thomas was the editor on this, with Marv Wolfman as the associate editor. You can see here there's a whole number of stories. So we've got Shang-Chi, we've got A Heroes Never Die, which is a biography on Bruce Lee, and you can see Bruce Lee there. I'm wondering if this is on this one. It's an internal poster that goes across both. Yes, indeed it is. So again, if you can find that cover intact instead of taken off and used as a pin-up, I think you'd be very lucky. So I'm really happy to grab that. So we get the first story, which I believe some of these, the vast majority of these, were reprints of or new stories. This one is a Steve Engerhart, Jim Starlin and Al Milgram art on this one. But as you can see, I think this may have been a new story created specifically for the book. But again, great to see black and white art with zipper tone, as I understand it. I think they'd have a lot, obviously they were doing a lot of this stuff for the UK, Marvel UK books. So it made a lot of sense for them to reuse the same sort of zipper tone on these pieces of black and white art as well. But it's great to see this Jim Starlin, Al Milgram art here. So a little bit of a glimpse inside this. Great, you can sort of see Jim Starlin's signature work here. Always a pleasure to see that. And then we have a Kung Fu special, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu special on obviously Bruce Lee, who at that point would have recently passed, unfortunately. But another one of these classic where you get to see detail. Then learn the moves of Kung Fu for you there. And another written story, Five Fingers of Death. I think that's a review of the movie. Films of Fury. So this one you got a little bit of a mix. It's very similar to the sort of Monster World, where you'd have a mix of TV, movie stories combined. A bit of Dave Carradine's Kung Fu there. So you get a real mix of how these two work together. Bit of Roy Thomas and Marv Wolfman Kung Fu editorial action there. That's interesting to see just in and of itself. And Sons of the Tiger. I think this one is because it's a painted story created specifically for this. It looks like, if I'm not mistaken, Dick Giordano on art. Yes, Jerry Conway, author, and Roy Thomas, editor advisor. So really great. As you can see, decent looking copy too. So very happy to get that. Fantastic. And an ad for Dracula Lives There, one of the horror titles from the books. So that's issue 1. Then we have issue 2, again in decent looking shape. And a pin-up of David Carradine on the interior this time from the Kung Fu TV series. There he is, Kwai Chang Kane. And there it is, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu ad. So another one here, another Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu story. Steve Englehart as author, Alan Lee Weiss as artist, and Al Milgram on inks. So may see if I can take these to a comic convention and get a couple of these signed, particularly by Al if he's around, and Jim for the first issue potentially. Maybe Roy Thomas too, and Marv if I get a chance. So with these creators still around, this is probably a good opportunity to get these signed and slabbed by CGC, given how good they are. Again, this one looks like a brand new story. You've got the Crazy magazine there, another photo story of sorts on Kung Fu, movie review of The Dragon's Vengeance, more martial arts, teach yourself martial arts, another review of the Legend of Bruce Lee book. The Dragon Has Entered poster, that looks like. That's pretty awesome. Not sure who did the art on the dragon there. That's looking pretty cool. And to close us off, this one is a reprint, of course. The classic Marvel Special Edition. Nice little blurb at the top there, but that's great to have that reprint in here. So obviously this classic story is by Steve Englehart, Jim Starlin as the artist, and Al Milgram on inks. But again, you can see here they've utilized the zipper tone to sort of give it a bit more oomph in the print there. But really good to see this reprinted. Fantastic art by Jim Starlin. And there you have it. There's your fantastic first story featuring Shang-Chi. So yeah, as you can see, they're in good condition. This one's not so much. It has a bit of spine damage here. As you can see, the staples are coming away. This is issue 4. Once again, you've got a whole mix of different stories in there. Roy Thomas, John Romita as art director on this one. So then we have Way of the Tiger, which is the editorial, And then Master of Kung Fu, Circle of Serpent's Blood. Shang-Chi goes west to pit his martial arts against Dr. Fu Manchu's most feared assassin. So again, I think this is a story by Doug Mensch, art by Mike Vosberg and Al Milgram. I think this one might be a new story specifically for the book. You can usually tell those by the painted covers in them, but some of them are reprints and then repainted, it would seem. So I'm looking forward to reading these in greater detail and getting a bit of a history in terms of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. But this is really great to see. Samurai will slice you if you don't subscribe. And yet another editorial on one of the movies. Kung Fu Revisited, the TV show. And then they talk about Iron Fist coming to the book as well. Sons of the Tiger story here. So again, these were adjacent normally to the Marvel comic books. So you would find brand new stories and first appearances sometimes. So most notably, there's a number of first appearances across these Marvel magazines. Most famous of which is Rocket Raccoon. Oh, and we have someone who cut up the book. There you go. There's the peril. So I always knew this one wasn't as high grade as the other two, but at least we know that one can be set to one side and not graded due to that cutout. But a whole number of great ads here. Advert Crazy Magazine, three-dimensional action hero scenes. Got some Mego toys, Spider-Man toys there. Advert for Deadly Hands of Kung Fu next issue. And an advert for Vampire Tales with Morbius the Living Vampire and Blade the Vampire Slayer. So there you go. That one, not the best condition, but still a great little read. This one again, similarly not in great condition. Great cover though, with Shang-Chi on the front, painted art. Shame about the sort of price sticker, but as I say, half of these I'm in for the read, so this will be quite good to check them out. So we've got Shang-Chi in Hollywood. The son of Fu Manchu finds danger, intrigue in his oldest friend, a kung fu movie star who must choose between Shang-Chi's death or his own. Story by Doug Mensch, art by Keith Pollard and Bob McLeod. So two decent legends. Look at the art there. And the art was always, I think, on these Shang-Chi stories, Master of Kung Fu, they were pretty cool. Obviously, I think this person modeled on this Hollywood actor, Kuai Lu. Interesting. But yeah, as I say, with Hollywood, it was obvious that they would do a story about martial arts in Hollywood. Kung Fu versus Karate, which is better? So to the two martial art styles, bit of a comparison there. Interesting take. And then we have stories. This one. This is the Casket of Han Shang. A young warrior is charged with an awesome task. The assassins were charged with his death. The Deadly Hands comic bonus. So I think a new story once again in here. Here's the art by Paul Galassi and Duffy Voland, with story by Mary Screens. Nice little short story there. King Kung Fu paperback series gets a bit of a review. And then, bizarrely, we get, well, first of all, a fantastic rendition of Batroc the Leaper in here, talking about his history. So he obviously, his first tale in Tales of Suspense 85, but we get the Blitzkrieg of Batroc story here reprinted Jack Kirby goodness. And again, they're using the zipper tone to sort of give it a bit more dynamism in terms of the colours, or at least the shades of grey here on black and white. So again, taking what they did for the UK, you can really see it here. Taking what they did for UK comics and applying it to these US magazines. But fantastic to see that. This one's intact, it looks like, with no coupons or anything cut out. So this is pretty good. So yeah, that's excellent. Not in uber shape, but we'll take it. We have Deadly Hands of Kung Fu issue 12 here with a James Bond poster, because you can. So interesting that they put that in there. Not sure that really represents Kung Fu, but now it makes sense. That I was wondering who this person was on the front cover. Now I've revealed it's James Bond. Didn't make the connection until literally just now. So interesting. Sort of trying to obviously extend the reach of the book here. But again, now we've got another story by Doug Mensch, art by Rudy Nebris. But again, painted artwork, looks like a brand new story. This is pretty good art. Quite like this. So yeah, great to see that they, as I say, if you dig out of the comic books, you get to see these great new stories and art within these pages. So, and they're a little bit more risque, as I say. They could avoid the comics code and do something a bit more interesting, especially in sort of these sort of horror and kung fu genres where you're allowed to be a little bit more violent, a little bit more suggestive. So worked quite well. And there we have the 3 Bonds as they were at the time. So that's fun. Again, a bit of an adjacent, not sure. Let's just focus on that one scene where Roger Moore fights martial arts. So obviously they were capitalizing at the time too. And then we have The Crack of the Whip, Sons of the Tiger story by Bill Mantley. Art by George Perez and The Tribe. Wow. Early George Perez, I think, here. This is good. And again, you can really tell this is fantastic. Excellent work. It doesn't really sort of speak to me in terms of like the usual style from George Perez. So it's quite interesting to see this. It looks a little bit Sal Buscema-ish, especially that pose here. So fascinating to see this in play. And then next issue, Sons of Tiger, Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. And that's that one. Now the next one is a key. And some of you may or may know what this one is. So obviously this fantastic Iron Fist front cover here. Iron Fist exploding into his own series. This is 19 Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. This came out in 1975, I think December 1975. You get this great Jim Starlin poster pin-up of Shang-Chi and Fu Manchu. But what's notable about this is obviously this is a Chris Claremont story and a brand new story brought specifically for this magazine. So again, Chris Claremont on story, Art Nebris on Rudy Nesbris on art. But look at the art on this. This story is fantastic. But great to see Iron Fist in here and redone for the Marvel magazines. Beautiful painted artwork. Really, really good. But this is not the reason why this book is so wanted or sought after. If we go through the editorial pieces here, we'll come to Sons of Tiger on issue 19. Here it is. Sons of Tiger, Bill Mantlow's story, additional dialogue, Yvette Perez, art by George Perez and Jack Abel. So obviously George and co were helping at this point. But this one is notable, if I can find it, for the introduction of the White Tiger and that amazing splash page. So again, very difficult book to pick up in high grade. So really happy to grab this one. As you can see, it's got a little bit of damage here, a little bit of funky damage here and down here, but all in all, pretty good looking copy nonetheless. So that's a great little key to pick up. So I'm really happy with that. I'll just move this to one side. Then we have a couple more issues which we'll run through quickly. So this is issue 21. That was issue 19. So this will be part 3 of that Iron Fist story. And again, look at the design on that. That's really nice. So Chris Claremont's story, Rudy Nebres on art. Really like that and love that logo there. So again, you get to see unique material you wouldn't see in the comics. A little bit more violent, a little bit more suggestive, but I'm in for it. But as you can see, the art in itself is just worth every bit. So if you can go out and pick some of these up and you're really into your sort of kung fu, martial arts stories from Marvel, absolutely go and get it. Look at that splash. That's fantastic. So I'm really happy to pick those up. But as you can see, these are awesomely realized. That splash again, fantastic. Let's see what else we have here. More editorials and a Sons of the Tiger with the White Tiger in here. It's a Bill Mantlo story, art by George Perez and Jack Abel. What a great image there of White Tiger, with his name in the city buildings. That's really well rendered. Great to see this brand new story. Really enjoy picking these up and finding out more about these different books that I would never normally have come across. Love to hear your thoughts too. I mean, some of you have a lot of knowledge about these that I haven't sort of come across them before, so I'm really enjoying getting into them. But anything you can tell me would always be much appreciated. Surprisingly, we've got the Prowler versus White Tiger here. So you can see there was a real crossover with some of these Marvel characters, but fantastic to have this early White Tiger appearance and him fighting the Prowler, especially given the recent Into the Spider-Verse movies. And advertisement for Marvel Con 76. I have a special surprise coming for everyone about that. Let's read this a little bit. Meet Stan and your favorite Mighty Marvel pros at the 2nd annual Marvel Con 1976. Meet the amazing Spider-Man in person. Free 3-hour long art lessons by Big John Buscema, 3 writing lessons by Rascally Roy Thomas, and 3 Kung Fu exhibitions. If you can only make one con this year, make it Marvel, make it the big one. Remember these dates, April 23rd, 24th, 25th at Hotel Commodore, 42nd Street in Vanderbilt Ave above Grand Central Station. For more information, send a stamped, self-addressed envelope to Vince Coletta, P.O. Box 77, Dover, New Jersey. That in itself is worth the price of admission, that wonderful piece of memorabilia in terms of the page here. It's just, that's worth it. That's worth this for this book on its own. Just that simple advertisement. So I have to keep a note of that. And then the last one in the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu that we have is this fantastic painted cover of Iron Fist versus Shang-Chi, issue 29. So this is obviously their first, or one of their first crossovers. And again, check it out. Doug Mensch story with art by Rudy Nebres. I'm really going to seek out more of Rudy's art because it's so dynamic. Fantastic artist. And great, this great splash page. Just look at that. Not sure it is the lettering, but I'm assuming it's Rudy too, because his logos are just so well rendered and so unusual and unique. Like, that is fantastic. But yeah, Master of Kung Fu versus Iron Fist. Shang-Chi versus Iron Fist. I have to check if this is the first time that these two come across each other. Quite the pairing, realistically. So this is great. Again, look at that artwork. Absolutely stunning. Really good. So much fun to see this. And I wonder if we get another White Tiger story at the end. Indeed we do. Sons of Tiger storyline. Bill Mantlo on story. Ron Wilson this time on art with Sonny Trinidad, Rudy Messina, and Peter La Hoja, I think. Excuse me if I've butchered that. I'm sure someone in the chat or comments will let me know. And there we have it. More White Tiger. So I'm really happy to have picked these up. As I say, for the White Tiger storyline and some of these early Shang-Chi appearances and just different stories, I always feel like it's worth picking up these magazines. And again, the artwork in these I find is great. Like this black and white medium, especially when you have these sort of painted panels like this. It's well worth the investment of seeking them out and picking them up. Wow, you even got a Jack of Hearts here. What Jack of Hearts has to do with Kung Fu, I'll never know. But still, great to see that in here too. But yeah, really enjoyed picking those up. You can see there's an advertisement for all of the Marvel magazines that are out at this time. That classic issue 8 of Legion of Monsters from Marvel Preview. Got the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, as you can see, we're reading here. Doc Savage and Planet of the Apes. And then they mentioned the Marvel comics too. Yeah, the Marvel Explosion is in color too. So you can go and pick up your comics rather than your magazines, which are black and white. So that's your Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. I hope you enjoyed that. That was, for me, a lot of fun digging through those. And to close us off, got this fantastic Kull and the Barbarians, 3 issues. Not sure if it ran longer than that. These, from my understanding, are reprints based on the Robert E. Howard character. And it does feature some interesting art in here. But as I say, I didn't think that these, I think these are all reprints from the Kull, the Conqueror story in the comics. This was in 1975, I believe. 1975 this was. So you get 5 different stories. You get a nice little Marie Severin pin-up there. And then obviously Roy Thomas was editor, drove a lot of this in terms of the story. Obviously associated very strongly with Kull and Conan. Hail the Barbarians. So we've got Kull, you've got Conan, I think Roger Sonia there. But as you can see, great. I think there is a reprint here based on the heroic tales of Robert E. Howard. There you go, creator of Kull of Vesulia. Script by Roy Thomas, art by Ross Andrew and Wally Wood. So I'm going to dig into this. I've never really been that much of a Conan or a Kull fan, so I'm finding myself drawn in more and more, and this is probably a good jumping off point to get myself into it. So again, if you've got any suggestions or recommendations for getting started, I do own a copy of Savage Tales, issue 1. Fortunately, it's slabbed, but nonetheless, would love to get a Kickstart guide to these books. Real get an appreciation, particularly as a Barry Windsor Smith fan as well, who later became synonymous with the run as well. So Roy Thomas, art by Marie and John Severin. Actually, that might be the John Severin cover rather than Marie or pin-up. Nonetheless, great to see this. As you can see, not sure if these are reprints or not. When I did a bit of research on these, it did appear that they were reprinted from issue 1 and 2 of the standard one, and it does look a little like that. Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway on script, Gil Kane, Andy Chua on art there. Look at that. That's a fantastic double-page spread there. Beautiful. So worth it again, just as a sort of snapshot of comic history here, particularly the fantasy comics work. Really happy to see that. So that's issue 1. A lot of ads in this one. A bit of a text story there, a retrospective review by Fred Blosser. So not bad, and again, not too bad looking in terms of the copy there. So happy with that. We got issue number 2, more of the same. Nice Wrights and Solomon Kane there. Whoa! See, that's why I love it. You find extra stuff that you would never normally. Look at that, beautiful. Look at the way that Bernie, just the light there, 1975. That's fantastic. A bit of a map of the Thurian continent. This one is story by Jerry Conway and art by Jess Jodlerman. Look at that. Beautiful stuff. And fascinating. There's some, whoa, look at that one too. These are awesome. Great art. And again, looking forward to reading this. This does not look like it's a story that appeared in the standard comic books. This is clearly created for this. So again, I'll do a bit of research and work out where these are. Look at these beautiful Conan, Frank Frazetta covers there. Hills of the Dead featuring Solomon Kane. Again, another Robert E. Howard story. Script by Roy Thomas, art by Alan Weiss and Neil Adams. Neil Adams' contribution here for Solomon Kane. Excellent. So, more Solomon Kane. And if is that who I think it is? It may or may not be. Miss Grell. So, Roy Thomas himself, alongside one of the winners, was San Diego's own lovely Dawn Greel. So not who I thought it was. I thought it was Wendy Peeney for a second, but no. It's another person dressed as Red Sonja, She-Devil with a Sword. So there we have it, another story there. This one by, again, Roy Thomas and Howard Chaykin on art. Again, you get these great creators that would do art on the sides for these books. So again, if you're a fan of like someone like Howard Chaykin, just picking this up in this magazine, it's great to be able to pick that up. I think this is Gil Kane art. Yes, story and art by Gil Kane. Black Mark versus the Mind Dimensions. So actually, Gil Kane on story too. Could tell straight away with Gil Kane that the upshot up the nose is very known for. So I think great to see that too. And then to close off the show this week, Kull and the Barbarians, issue number 3, featuring Red Sonja and Solomon Kane. Great. Not sure who that artist is, but that's a great Red Sonja there. Awesome looking. Very reminiscent of Frank Miller, actually. Let's see who's the cover artist. Michael Whelan. Oh no, that's the cover artist. Oh, it's a Chaikin. It says Howard Chaikin for this one. So I thought had that sort of style about it. So there you go. Howard Chaikin, Red Sonja. More Kull the Destroyer, Doug Minch story, Vicente Alcazar on art. And great little fantasy story here. And a Solomon Kane text story. And then we have a Red Sonja story, Roy Thomas plot, script by Doug Minch, and art by Howard Chaikin. Channeling very stylized art here. Again, I think an original story specifically for this book. And you can sort of see here a bit of the anti-comics code authority stuff. So clearly that works. And Red Sonja is a little bit more risque, even at the best of times. So. And one last story for us, Roy Thomas and Alan Weiss on art with Pablo Marcus. So Solomon Kane story again. There you have it. Very good. Super happy to pick those up. Like I say, I'll be digging in, having a bit of a read, getting used to some of these more fantasy books. But yeah, a bit of a nice selection for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me bring the screen back to its normal self. Yes, as I say, thank you so much for joining. It's been a lot of fun going through those books. I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, leave a comment down below. Love to hear from you. We have a massive monster mail call for you next week. I have a stack of books sitting right in front of me that I'm looking forward to sharing. Very monster themed to start. But yes, it's great to have you with us. And if you haven't already, as I say, if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed that content, please consider hitting that subscribe button, ring the notification bell. And with that, take care of yourselves. I will see you all next week. Don't forget to check out our other great videos, as well as our weekly live stream, the Merry Monday Mailcall Show. Every Monday at 7:30 AM Australian Eastern, Sunday 5:30 PM Eastern and 2:30 PM Pacific, as well as follow us on Instagram, Facebook and X at Still Only 35 Cents. Enough said.